What is up, everybody? How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Bromus, what's up? King Shadow, how you doing? Womack, how you doing, bro? Swift Savage Bear, how you doing? Crawler, what's up? Welcome to the stream, King Shadow. Welcome to the stream, Snillium. How's everybody doing? Cosmic Cookie, how's it going? Makito, how's everybody doing tonight? How's the audio sounding? Is the audio sounding good? Is it like coming through pretty well? Yeah, let me know in the chat if the audio is sounding good. Yeah, King Shadow, it has been a while since you've been in a debate, man. It's been a while. Mr. Dens, what's up, dude? Hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay, audio's good. Thanks for letting me know. Thank you, thank you. All right, guys, what's up? So today we are doing Luffy versus Zoro from Egghead Island. That's like the main theme of the debate. And to be more specific, the debate is Gear 2 and 3 Luffy from Egghead Island versus Full Power Zoro. Oh, congratulations, King Shadow. That's sick. Congratulations. Soy Sauce, how you doing, bro? So yeah, that's today's debate. We're mainly focusing on Gear 2 and Gear 3 Luffy from Egghead Island versus Full Power Zoro. Like, who would win in the battle? How would it actually go? I'm going to go over some brief, like, scaling points here. And then after I go through the scaling, then we're going to actually have an open debate. So just a tutorial for like anyone who wants to join the live stream debate. Here's how you do it. Let's say you go to my YouTube channel here, then you go over to my posts tab, then you scroll down to my Luffy versus Zoro poll that I did here. You click on the comments, and then the pinned comment, if you click on that link, that takes you to the live stream debate. So that's actually how you join in and participate on the debate, okay? Hold on one second, chat. I'm gonna have to, before I even get started, I'm gonna move my cat out of my room because she's already trying to box me, as it typically goes with every one of my live streams. One of these live streams, Momo, I will probably have to power scale Momo because she constantly wants to throw hands. Just give me like 10 seconds here, and then we'll get started with the power scaling stuff. Okay, just give me 10 seconds. I gotta put her in a different room. Just one sec. Okay. All right, chat. Sorry about that. That's just genuinely like the stream routine at this point. As soon as it starts up, Momo starts throwing hands. So I got to put my cat in a different room. That's pretty much the normal stream protocol at this point. Womack, you said you should just power scale Momo. Probably, bro. All right, guys. So let's get into just a bit of power scaling first. And I'll give my stance on like what side of the debate I'll take here. And we'll just go through some power scaling. So to start it off, my argument is that Gear 2 and Gear 3 is enough to defeat Egghead Island Zoro. That is my stance. Gear 2 and Gear 3 Luffy is enough to defeat Egghead Island Zoro. And I'm going to go through some power scaling here to back up my point, okay? So in the arc before Egghead, Wano, we get to see we start getting a really good understanding of what the limits of Zoro's power actually are. So on the rooftop, Zoro uses his ability Ashura, and he word for word states that this is the limit of his ability. After slamming Kaido with this Ashura technique, he doesn't even knock Kaido over. He does scar Kaido, but Zoro says that was the Zoro says that was the best attack that I could do. I was at least hoping it would knock you off your feet, and it failed to do that. Okay. Then Luffy in base form shows up, punches him one time square in the chin, and sends Kaido flying onto his back. Like with one punch in base form, Luffy achieved the thing that Zoro was trying to do with Ashura and failed. One counterpoint I see people say is like Zoro was near death when he did this. So was Luffy. Like right before Luffy threw this punch, Kaido said that he was on death's door, and Luffy was like legitimately unconscious. Meanwhile, Zoro was not unconscious before that attack. So like they were both near death when they did these attacks, but Luffy's attack achieved the thing that Zoro's attack was trying to do and failed. Okay. So, I mean, just from that alone, you already get an argument that base form Luffy in Wano is stronger than Ashura. You can already make a strong argument for that because just one punch, like Luffy's not even really using his devil fruit here. He's just just doing a straight up punch. He's not like winding the punch back, anything like that. This is just a straight up punch with advanced conqueror's haki, like debatably scaling above Ashura. Okay. Then we get a bit of scaling for Zoro's King of Hell technique. There's honestly a lot of misconceptions around King of Hell. With this technique, a lot of people are under the misconception that it's just like as big of a power up as Luffy's Conqueror's Haki is. And people really, just to be honest, people overhype the power of King of Hell all the time. A lot of people are under the misconception that like as soon as Zoro went King of Hell, he just instantly one-shot dominated King. But that's not actually what happened at all. King takes multiple attacks from King of Hell, like trades blows with Zoro and like clashes with him. So it's like he was still somewhat relative to King even while using King of Hell. You see here, this is Zoro using it. And the first attack he hits King with, King takes it straight to the chest. And it's just standing there like nothing happened. Like he's still able to continue fighting after taking a King of Hell slash like dead on, not blocking it in any way. Then another thing about King of Hell is that it has a time limit. This is what Zoro says in the left-hand panel. He says that the swords will literally kill him if he uses King of Hell for too long. So King of Hell has a time limit on it. It's not something that he can just use for like an entire fight the same way Luffy could use his gears. Then we see King take another King of Hell attack straight to the chest. And then here you see King clashing with King of Hell right here in the right hand panel. This is King straight up clashing with King of Hell and like tries to steal Zoro's swords from him like in this state. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure where the misconception came from, where people think that King of Hell is like making him a Yonko tier fighter and making him like leagues beyond King. It's like we still see King straight up boxing with him, right? Like clashing with him. Here in the left-hand panel, this is King trading multiple blows with Zoro while he's in King of Hell. Like they're just straight up having like a back and forth fight while he's in this state. And then the final attack that Zoro lands that actually does defeat King. Here's something to consider about it. King's final attack is a fire attack. Like Zoro states it right here. Hold on, I have the panel. I thought I did. Oh, yeah. In the bottom right-hand panel here, he says that flame is like magma. So it's a flame attack. And we know that earlier during the rooftop, Zoro learned how to chop fire the same way that Kinemon can. So we saw Kinemon chop the blast breath from Kaido. That doesn't mean that Kinemon is stronger than the blast breath. That's just like an ability that Zoro and Kinemon have. They can chop through fire. So like Zoro cutting through this attack, there's a real possibility that like he didn't even overpower it. He might have just chopped through it using like the fire chopping techniques that he learned from Kinemon, and then hit King directly with this attack. Like King just took Zoro's strongest move straight to the chest. Okay, so I'm just going over that to show you that there's a lot of misconceptions around how powerful King of Hell is. It was nowhere near the amp that Luffy got from his Conqueror's Haki, like just genuinely nowhere close to it. He's still like somewhat relative to this first division commander level opponent based off of like him straight clashing with him. This dude taking multiple attacks from him and continuing to keep fighting afterwards. Okay. So then now let's look at like what Luffy performs using just base form, Gear 2, and Gear 3. Here he is clashing with Kaido, having a back and forth fight with Kaido just using Gear 2 and Gear 3. And they're so evenly matched that Kaido says that this is a fun fight, and Luffy agrees with him. This is Man Beast Form Kaido, by the way. Showing that Luffy is like solidly a Yonko level fighter without even using Gear 4. Now this is actually something that like debunks a lot of things that I've heard people say about how strong Zoro is. In the left-hand panel, Kaido says that he's accepted Luffy, and then he states, "I wonder how long it's been since I fought someone who could truly go toe-to-toe with me." He's saying this even though he just fought Zoro and Ashura like a few chapters prior to this. So I've seen people say before that they think Ashura overpowered Kaido and that Ashura was relative to Kaido. Kaido himself is straight up saying Zoro did not even go toe-to-toe with him, let alone overpower him. Okay. Then we see Luffy get cracked in the head by Ragnarok and just gets back up. Like, this is base form Luffy, by the way, showing you how insane Luffy's durability is too. He gets cracked in the head by Man Beast form Kaido's Ragnarok ability, and then he just stands back up and kicks Kaido in the head. That's actually such an insane feat of durability. It's just genuinely crazy. Then we look over here on the right-hand panel. This is honestly something that debatably is just beyond the limits of Zoro's abilities. What Luffy is doing in this right-hand panel. In the right-hand panel, you see Kaido's doing a Gatling version of Thunder Bagua, where he's just like throwing multiple Thunder Baguas at once, just like the same way Luffy would do a Gatling attack. And Luffy clashes with this using Gear 3. Okay, Luffy's actually using Rock Gatling, and there's a bit of like a bit of mystery around what the rock attacks are. He might be using Gear 2 and Gear 3 at the same time, or maybe it's just Gear 3 with Advanced Conqueror's Haki. We don't actually have like the exact answer to it yet, but this right here might be beyond the limits of what King of Hell could possibly do, because as we saw before, King of Hell is still like clashing with King. And here, yeah, here's another scene of King just clashing with him, so showing that it's still like somewhat relative to King. So like, you guys tell me, do you think if you replace Luffy with King in this situation, he'd have something where he could just clash with this Gatling version of Thunder Bagua? Do you guys think King would be able to do this? Because I personally don't. If like, yeah, I don't think King's doing it, and I don't think Zoro's doing it with King of Hell either. I think this attack would just overwhelm King of Hell. Okay, and then yeah, we see like the continuation of this. This is Luffy and Kaido just continuing their Gatling storm. They're just going back and forth pretty evenly, and then Luffy's landing this crazy attack on Kaido. It's an insane fight. It's an insane fight. And just one more time for you guys. King of Hell is still somewhat relative to King. We see King clashing with it multiple times. If you can't visualize King like handling this somewhat, then it's most likely going to overwhelm King of Hell Zoro as well. Okay. Also, something else that people don't really talk about is going into this fight, King had already been fighting for a while, and Zoro had just taken some medicine that like let him regenerate back to 100%. So like, it was 100% Zoro versus a King who just got finished fighting Marco and Sanji. So like, you can make a good argument that it was a less than 100% King versus a 100% Zoro, and Zoro was still getting slammed for the majority of the fight. Here's proof of that. This is Zoro fighting King, just getting straight up overpowered before he awoken King of Hell. Like we see with King of Hell, it gets him to a point where he can clash with King. But before King of Hell, oh, here, just showing it. I'll pause on that for a second. This is King of Hell letting him clash with King. But before King of Hell, he was getting like straight up slammed, like thrown around, kind of massacred, bro. He was getting overpowered in pretty much every situation where he was fighting King here. Like you see them clash in the left-hand panel, he just gets overpowered and like thrown like almost off, like just thrown off the island almost. And then this is another panel of King just like sending Zoro flying, and Zoro saying like, dude, this guy is insanely strong. So yeah, I'm just showing you this to show you that like without King of Hell, Zoro was getting slammed by King, and then with King of Hell, he was like clashing with him, and then got that final attack on him. And it's debatable if like the flame even clashed with Zoro at all in the final slash. Zoro might have just chopped through the fire with his like stolen ability from Kinemon, and then just hit King directly with his strongest move in the very end. Okay, now here's something that I don't think I really haven't seen people bring this up in how it would affect the fight, but Luffy has future sight and Zoro does not. And we saw when Luffy fought Katakuri, Luffy couldn't even land a single attack on Katakuri while he was using his future sight. It was actually insanely one-sided, bro. This fight was insanely one-sided. Luffy really couldn't touch this dude at all with any of his attacks until brief moments where Katakuri wasn't using future sight, and then when Luffy started developing future sight himself. Like Katakuri dealt fatal damage to him several times over, and just really throughout the entire fight, Luffy was just getting absolutely slammed by Katakuri because Katakuri had future sight. Okay, so and then you also see like Katakuri straight up say it. It's like it was just such a one-sided fight for the majority of the battle. There's this scene here where Luffy can't even stand up because Katakuri's just attacking him before he does anything, and Katakuri's like, these are the results when you fight someone who can read your actions ahead of time. Like, it's showing you that if you're fighting someone that can use future sight, who's relative to you in power, and you can't use future sight, you just get absolutely obliterated. Okay, so all that being said, bro, here's the real honest truth. Instead of saying like, can Zoro beat Gear 2 and Gear 3 Luffy, a better question is, can Zoro even hit him, bro? Can Zoro even hit him? That's the real question people need to start asking, because like when Luffy fought Katakuri, he could not hit Katakuri at all until Luffy developed future sight of his own, and Zoro has zero future sight like feats at all. We've never seen Zoro like fight someone with future sight before. Like, so the real question is like, can Zoro even hit him, bro? Luffy versus Zoro might go very similar to how Katakuri versus Luffy went. And the difference is Luffy has Rio. So like all of his attacks, not only are they strong enough to straight up clash with things that would eviscerate Zoro like this, but they also do internal damage at the same time, like ignore Zoro's durability. Luffy's going to slam him, bro. Gear 2, Gear 3 Luffy is still slamming him. Zoro might not even be able to hit him, bro. And another thing that's even crazier is you can make a good argument that Luffy's reaction speed was actually faster than Katakuri's was based off of the feats that he was performing, and he still couldn't hit Katakuri. The reason why you can say that Luffy's reaction speed was faster than Katakuri was because for a large portion of the fight, Katakuri was using his mole spear here, and he was trying to kill Luffy with it. He was looking into the future, trying to stab Luffy like where he was going to dodge, and Luffy was still dodging him. The only way that's possible is if Luffy's moving faster than Katakuri. That's the only way. So it's like Luffy might have been faster than Katakuri was in reaction speed, and he still couldn't even land a single attack on Katakuri until Luffy himself developed Future Sight. So it's like, really, can Zoro even hit Luffy? Luffy has Future Sight, Zoro doesn't. They're relative in stats in terms of speed, if I'm being nice. I can make an argument that Gear 2nd Luffy's actually faster than King of Hell Zoro, and he can see the future and Zoro can't. Is there anything Zoro can do against that? Other than just never land an attack and get absolutely obliterated? Like, this is Luffy just getting absolutely decimated by Katakuri here. This is very similar to how Luffy versus Zoro would go, just Gear 2 and Gear 3. And also now Luffy has this mini Gear 4. This, like, he wouldn't even need to use this against Zoro. And then we see, like, the limits of Zoro's King of Hell ability. He's just struggling with somebody that Luffy absolutely low diffed. And I've seen some people use the argument that, like, Luffy was... some people like try to high scale Lucci just because Luffy used Gear 5 against him. But you need to understand, like, just because Luffy's using Gear 5 doesn't mean he needed to use Gear 5. That's proven here in Elbaf. And I think Oda went out of his way to show this just to prove to people that, like, just because Luffy's using Gear 5 doesn't mean he needs to. He's in this scene here in Elbaf, Luffy's fighting a literal just fodder snake. And he goes Gear 5 anyway and just one-shots him. He did not need to do that. And it's such a crazy misuse of overpower that even Luffy's crew members are like, bro, why are you doing that? That's way too much power, bro. So yeah, just because Luffy used Gear 5 on Lucci does not mean he needed it. I really think Luffy could beat Lucci using just Gear 2 and Gear 3, and he can beat Zoro using just Gear 2 and Gear 3. That's my stance on it. Okay, so Pajek, you said Lucci literally asked him to use it in the anime. He did. I don't remember if he asked him to use it in the manga though. I'd have to double check that. Okay, so let's get into the debate portion. Let's get into the debate portion here. So just one more time, a walkthrough for how to join the debate. You go to my YouTube channel, and then you click on posts. You scroll down to this post I did here with, like, Luffy versus Zoro, this poll. You click on the comments, and then you click on the pinned comment, and that allows you to join the live stream debate. Okay, so I'm about to hop into the Discord really quick. Here, let me go ahead and put this on. This is a good panel to show off. This is a good panel to show. Or matter of fact, hold on. Let me just show, like, this. This is what I believe is, like, the limits of King of Hell. The limit of King of Hell's ability. I don't see him, like, being able to do this. And I'm just opening... I'm opening the chat on my other laptop so I can see the chat as the debate goes on. Let's see here. All right, we have that there. Good. Okay, now let me, I'm going to hop into the Discord debate right now, okay? All right, I'm going into debate voice chat number 1. So if you want to join in the debate, hop into debate voice chat number 1. Yo, King Shadow, how are you doing, man?
Love.
It has been a while. How are you doing? Can you hear me, King Shadow?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, 6. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm so glad I finally get to debate again because, bro, there's been so much. But before I even address the debate, I just want to get your confirmation if it's okay with you. I want to also talk about Hunter x Hunter towards the end of the stream, so I can give you my 2 cents on that real quick, and maybe a little bit of previous debates, if you're okay with that, towards the end of the stream, of course.
Oh yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, yeah, and I got Zoro 100% because when I first seen this debate, I'm thinking, because I was tweaking, because it's been so long since I watched One Piece, I was thinking you meant Gear 3, not 3, but 4, Gear 1 through 4 Luffy. But just 1 and 3, I was like, Zoro, 100%. Come on.
So
come on, Leo. Come on.
okay, so yeah, let's hear your point. So why do we're talking about Egghead Island, Zoro?
Yeah.
Why do you think Egghead Island Zoro is stronger than Gear 2 and Gear 3?
All right, yeah. So just to begin, right, we have the fact that he was going toe to toe with Kaido, and you said during your life that he wasn't going toe to toe. Well, I disagree, and I also believe that he was even surpassing Kaido in strength. And if we're looking after just basic stats and like what they have in their arsenal in order to defeat each other, Zoro is literally Luffy kryptonite. He has swords, right? We know that rubber can bypass guns and bullets, right? But like when it comes down to sharp weapons, it's just Luffy kryptonite. Now, during the fight with Kaido, we have him messing up multiple times, and then we have Zoro even saving him. And I believe, because it's been a minute since I read the manga of One Piece and like watched like the Wano arc, but I believe Zoro tanked an attack from Big Mom and Kaido at the same time, an attack that was like stated or said to be one of the strongest attacks in the series, and could take down Kid, Law, and Luffy. And this is during a time where like Luffy is just like out cold. Mind you, I also want to like remind you that during this time he gained a new sword, wasn't fully comfortable with utilizing the sword, especially when he was even facing King. You guys said that he was fighting King at 100%, but that simply isn't true due to the fact that, first, yes, he did get a recovery that was supposed to boost him to 100%, but that's a little bit disingenuous. It's kind of like saying, oh, I'm back at 100% because I drank an energy drink. That's not fair, right? You can't really say that I'm like actually at my like fullest, especially since he didn't even use Ashura against King. He was struggling using his sword properly, and that may have even been evident when he fought Kaido and Big Mom as well, right? Like Zoro had fought alongside Luffy just as long as Luffy did, but Zoro wasn't on the ground multiple times. Like he didn't lose the fight multiple times. If you understand what I'm saying.
So just to, like let's go through that one point at a time here. So the first point you were saying is that you think Zoro not only went toe to toe with Kaido, but actually overpowered him when he used Ashura.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Kaido himself says that he didn't. Kaido himself says, like while he's fighting Luffy, he says, "I wonder how long it's been since I fought someone who could truly go toe to toe with me." And he's saying that he.
So here's the thing with that, right? There's multiple things that you can like gain and like interpret that from. He could be saying that it's been a minute since someone's like been on my level or lower that's still able to fight me for so long. Like I wonder how long that's been. Also, you also have the fact that when he fought Odin, right? He's reminded of that same exact fight when he fights Zoro, like twice. Right, and Odin at that time when they clashed and Odin scarred him, Odin overpowered him. Like it was just known, and he was like really upset when someone interrupted their fight and he couldn't see the outcome of it because at that point in time, even though it was just one slash, he was overpowered. Like he couldn't do anything about it, and he tanked a slash essentially. He had to, and he was forced to.
But the thing is, so here's the thing. Zoro word for word says this attack, Ashura, is the limit of my ability, right? And he hits Kaido with his strongest attack at the time. This is based on what Zoro's word for word saying. And after the attack, Kaido just takes it. He doesn't even fall on his back. And Zoro word for word says, "I was hoping I'd at least knock you off your feet." Meaning Zoro's attack was so weak, it couldn't even do the only thing Zoro was trying to do. That was like Zoro's bare minimum requirement, and he failed. Then we see base form Luffy with one punch, not even using his devil fruit ability. Just, he's not stretching his arm back. He's not using gear 2. He's not even using gear 3. This is just a base form one punch from Luffy sends Kaido flying onto his back. showing that base form Luffy's one punch, you can already debate that that's stronger than Zoro's strongest move at the time. And this is also the scene where Zoro's using Conqueror's Haki too. So
yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna address that point. So like the first point that I'm gonna address is this. Kaido, he's able to change his durability. We've seen that throughout the series. Like there's a different scale of durability from his dragon form, his hybrid form, and his base form, right? It is possible that he's using his highest form of durability during that fight against Zoro. Also, there's the fact that Zoro isn't as the strongest, right? He still hasn't unlocked Conqueror's Haki. He hasn't utilized it. He's still he's not in his King of Hell form. And he's still struggling with mastering his new sword.
He actually just real quick, King Shadow. He is using Conqueror's Haki in this scene because right after he falls to the ground, Kaido's like, "Wait, you can use Conqueror's Haki too?" Like this was a Conqueror's Haki attack. It was just so weak it couldn't even knock him off his back.
Yeah, but my essential point is like it wasn't fully realized. If you understand what I'm saying there.
But even now, Zoro's
unconsciously.
Well, even now, Zoro's not fully realized. Like in the most recent chapter, Zoro says he didn't even know that he had Conqueror's Haki. He just said that in the most recent chapter as well. So his Conqueror's Haki is pretty weak compared to Luffy. It's like not even like close, actually.
Yeah, and then also you have to also take into the fact that Kaido's a pretty big dude. If Zoro pulls off that same attack against Luffy, which also he can. By the way, I've seen you making that debate saying can Zoro even hit Luffy, and he for sure can. Kaido even has advanced observation Haki as well, right? And he managed to hit Luffy, vice versa. So yeah, he's definitely able to hit Luffy. That's not even a problem. But like, Kaido's a big person. If Zoro would have pulled off that same attack and like against Luffy and like aim towards his neck, forget knocking you down. That's a one shot kill. If you ask me, I don't know if I'm able to say like the word kill.
Oh no, you're fine. Training, I mean, so is there any proof at all that Zoro can hit someone who's using Future Sight? The only time Kaido used Future Sight in the fight was against Luffy.
No, he actually used it against Zoro as well. When Kaido was a dragon, I believe I forgot. So essentially what happened was Law, he had teleported Zoro up in the sky. Law was like, hey, don't tell me what to do, but did it anyways. And then Zoro had launched an attack, and then Kaido was like, hey, I need to dodge. If I don't, I'm gonna this is gonna take serious damage. And that one attack just slashed down like the roof of the roof that they were on.
That was not a Future Sight. That was Big Mom telling him like dodge it, Kaido. And also that attack would have been weaker than Ashura anyway, because Ashura, Zoro states, was his strongest attack. That was the limit of his ability. Zoro didn't say about that first slash, so it might not have even scarred Kaido, to be honest.
But what I'm saying here is Kaido has Future Sight.
Yes, but the only time he states that he uses it is only in the 1v1 against Luffy. He never says, oh, I'm using Future Sight against Zoro and I'm still getting hit. Like, Zoro, from our knowledge, from what's been shown and stated in the series, Zoro has never hit anyone using Future Sight.
Okay, so here's where like it gets a bit disingenuous because there's no actual proof that even Kizaru has Future Sight, right? But like we know that he's most likely able to use it. And there's also the fact that Kaido, Luffy has Future Sight himself, but then he still got one shotted by Kaido at the beginning of the Wano arc, correct?
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. That was because a couple different things. Well, one, it's because when you're angry, you can't really use it, and Luffy was angry in that fight. And then two, Luffy states that he word for word says at the start of the rooftop fight that I'm using the future and I still got hit by Kaido, like grazed by Kaido, because Kaido's that fast. So it shows you can actually like overpower Future Sight if you're fast and strong enough. But Zoro has nothing saying that he's like outstatting Luffy in actually anything. I mean, we literally see his strongest attack gets outdone by one of Luffy's weakest.
You say that, but then that one attack speed versus Kaido, in which is like that one attack right there, speed versus Kaido. Not only that, but that attack right there may even been better and faster than the attack from Odin himself, because we know that Kaido, he definitely got stronger throughout the series, and when he was fighting Odin, he was only in base form, right? So,
but this attack did not speed blitz Kaido. Like Kaido gets hit by it, but that's not the same as like moving so fast Kaido couldn't react. Kaido wasn't even using future sight.
Okay, so like to scale that a little bit, right? Beginning of Wano, Luffy isn't faster than Kaido. Kaido is faster than Luffy. And then towards like the Wano fight, Luffy loses multiple times to Kaido. And then we also have Kaido keeping up with Gear 5 Luffy, even beating Gear 5 Luffy because the time span ran out. So that's a victory towards Kaido, if you ask me. But then we have Zoro going Ashura mode and still being able to like, land a slash on Kaido relatively easily. And mind you, he's not at his strongest right there. Like Egghead Art Zoro versus Wano Art Zoro, I'll have Egghead Art Zoro just for like being at full strength and like learning new techniques throughout the series, throughout the Wano arc.
That's true. Yeah, they get a little bit stronger each arc, but the same thing happens to Luffy. Luffy gets stronger from like in the Egghead Island arc too. It's from Hockey Blooms. If anything, I'd say Luffy gets a much bigger strength gain than Zoro. But that's a completely different. That's a different debate altogether. But yeah, I mean, so far, like, here's the big thing: nothing Zoro has displayed is anything close to what Luffy's displayed in Gear 2 or 3. That's just actually a fact, really. Zoro's best feat, honestly, is when he hits Kaido with a Shura, and then Luffy outperforms that the next page in base form. Not to mention Gear 2, not to mention Gear 3. And like the rock attacks that he's doing, they might be Gear 2 and Gear 3 together at the same time. Like him clashing with Kaido's Gatling version of Thunder Bagua. There's absolutely nothing in Zoro's entire arsenal that has been shown to be able to clash with that. The other thing, like his best feat of durability was blocking the combined attack from Big Mom and Kaido for 1 second. It was literally stated to just be 1 second, though. And then Law teleports him out of the way with Room. And that 1 second broke, like, nearly every bone in his body, too. So it's like, that would have killed him. Like, there's a chance if he blocked it for 2 seconds, that would have killed him. Meanwhile, Luffy on his own is taking this massive onslaught. This massive onslaught right here might be somewhat relative to the attack that broke all of Zoro's bones. And Luffy can just handle it.
All right, so, like, to get you to understand where I'm coming from, what I'm saying, from what I'm saying here is like Luffy, even with having Gear 4 and Snake Mare Gear 4, and even Gear 5, it wasn't enough to beat Kaido, right? But then when you have a flashback arc, when you look at the flashback arc versus Kaido versus Odin, Kaido was actually worried about losing against Odin, right? And then now we have a stronger Kaido, and now Zoro is so strong that he's like, hey, I need to dodge his attack in order to survive, or like to like not receive major damage from Zoro. And mind you, this is like you're putting Zoro at his strongest versus Luffy, who isn't at his strongest, and that's just like extremely, extremely like downplaying Zoro here. Because then here's my thing: we have Zoro who managed to do the exact same thing Odin did to Kaido a few years back, but versus a stronger Kaido here. So it's highly possible that like if Egghead Art Zoro were to fight Kaido right now, that Kaido would just fear for his life, thinking that he can possibly lose against Odin. And even with Gear 4, 3, 2, and 1, like Luffy, and even 5, right? Luffy was just barely keeping up.
Well, let's talk about that. Well, let's talk about this. First off, Zoro himself, word for word, says he's weak compared to Odin. Zoro word for word says that. That's because like when you look at him using Enma, there's multiple scenes where he's fighting King where like Zoro's arm like turns into like a mummy and he thinks that Enma's rebelling against him, but then Zoro has an epiphany. He's like, oh no, this is just the normal amount of haki that Odin would use and he would wield you like it's nothing. I'm just too weak. That's like word for word from Zoro. And then Zoro also has this dialogue where he says he's so fodder compared to Odin that he can't even use King of Hell that long. It will kill him. Meanwhile, like Odin never once in the series says like, oh man, I can only fight for a little while or I'll just die from my haki drain. Like it's showing you that there's actually a pretty big gap between Zoro and Odin at this point.
Yeah, at that point specifically, and like then again, is Zoro not at his strongest, right? It's a
This
weakened Zoro.
this
A
is
Zoro
full
that
power
gives King
Zoro.
one of the strongest attacks in the series.
This is full power Zoro. This is the Zoro who fought King after getting like the medicine.
Yeah, but like I said, that's disingenuous. That's like saying someone's at like they're at like their 100% capacity when it comes down to energy after taking one energy drink, even though they've been beat up throughout that whole entire day. That's so like disingenuous. Like look at it like this. Luffy was taking multiple injections, wasting his lifespan in return when he was in what's that one arc called?
Marineford.
Marineford, yes, right. But he wasn't at 100% then, right?
Well, this actually is completely different than that actually, because like the medicine, it word for word says this lets you fight at 100% power, but the drawback is like after it runs out, you're twice as damaged as you were before. So it's like it doesn't say you're fighting at 100%, but you're still in pain, but you're this, but you're that. It's no, you're fighting at 100% for a while. That's what it is.
One could argue the fact that okay, sure, he's fighting at 100%, but him knowing that he's gonna feel twice as much pain, he's probably gonna want to minimize that and not actually go 100%, right? And then we also have the fact that he just doesn't I lost my train of thought here, but yeah. Back to what I was saying, like one can say that he's not gonna go 100%, especially against King, like who's weaker than Kaido, and he just managed to like do a huge slash against Kaido. He's probably not even trying to go 100%. And this is seen throughout even Egghead art against Luffy. Sanji had said, "Hey, why are you wasting so much time against Luffy? Just hurry up and beat him." And Zoro just one shots him easily.
He actually doesn't one shot. He actually doesn't one shot him, like Lucci's still standing afterwards, but I would actually argue the opposite of what you just said, because since he knows that the medicine has a time limit, he's doing everything he can to win as fast as possible. And he's still like struggling. He's still struggling. Not to mention,
how long was that time limit? Like how long was it supposed to last again?
I don't remember the exact, I don't even know if they said like a set amount of minutes or anything. But it lasted long enough for
argue the fact that he was probably feeling the black lash of the twice as much pain as previously during the fight with King.
No, there's zero chance. There's zero.
I can't perform King of Hell for so long.
No, there's zero chance of that, because all of his bones were broken and he couldn't move. If he was feeling twice as much pain, he wouldn't be able to move. There's zero chance.
Is like he felt as if the time limit was running out, right? Like it was slowly like taking a toll on his body throughout the fight versus King. And that's how he fought. Like you also
if that was the case, like that would be a major. If that was the case, they would say that, because that's a major thing. He never says one word about that.
Okay, but he never says one word about I'm actually like I'm going all out against King. He doesn't say anything about that as well, right? But you're coming to an assumption saying that he's going 100% against King, and that's disingenuous because he's not even using Ashura at all. He's not using passing out after fighting King. Like, well, he did pass out, but like that's a completely different story. And then King's already doing damage upon him, right? And there was even some point, like the time when he was fighting King, that he wasn't even worried about King. He was more so worried about, hey, why can't I control this sword, right? So it's like even mentally, he's not going 100%.
We don't even know if he can use Ashura and King of Hell at the same time. It was taking everything he could just to wield these swords.
Right, but we do know Ashura is his strongest attack, so if you're going 100%, why not just use your strongest attack? Especially since, like, you gain more advanced Conqueror's Haki.
Well, I mean, what does that change, though? Because, I mean, so that's, like, something we don't even know if he can do yet. He legitimately says he doesn't have much time. The swords are, like, killing him, and he's just trying to win the fight, like, as fast as he can. And then this final attack he does, the King of Hell 103 Mercies attack, that might just be stronger than Ashura. Ashura really isn't like a transformation. It's more just like a one-hit attack.
Okay, but you said it was stated that Ashura was the strongest attack, though. And then
contradicting
what you said previously, but...
Yeah, but he didn't have King of Hell yet. King of Hell he awakens after Ashura, so... Now it seems that this is... this is stronger.
Did he say this is even stronger than Ashura or anything of the sort?
I mean, like,
you would assume that would low key be stated, right? Same thing as the time limit is taking a toll on him. But like even that right there, right?
Like you
that,
think
that just proves that he
you think Ashura is stronger than King of Hell?
Say it again?
You think Ashura is stronger than King of Hell?
Without a doubt, yeah.
What difference does that make?
Especially if
then?
like we're talking about Egghead Zoro, yeah, I think Ashura is stronger than King of Hell.
Like what difference? Like, right? Well, just two questions. Like, even if it was, what difference does that make? And then two, like, no, yeah, just really, what difference would that even make, actually?
Yeah, so it's essentially like King of Hell is like a state where he's like completely just locked in and like he's at his strongest, he's fighting at his strongest. But Ashura is more so of a state that's like, there's more so of a time limit, and then we also see Zoro with 9 swords, and we know like since he has 3 swords, like the more swords the merrier, like the better he's gonna fight, of course, right? And like this attack right here managed to take down, not even take down Kaido, but managed to scar Kaido very similarly to how Odin has scarred Kaido. And then the fact that you're saying that Zoro isn't stronger than Odin based off of his statements alone. First, he wouldn't know how strong Odin is. He's just assuming, right? And then mind you, he scarred Kaido, a stronger Kaido than what Odin had faced, right? And we don't know how strong the sword got throughout the years. We don't know how much hockey it needs now, because when think about it logically, right? When like a sword hasn't when a sword is stronger based off the hockey you give, and no one has wielded that sword since, it's probably absorbing way more hockey than it is now versus when Odin was alive back then. Well, because like that sword was made for Odin.
Well, here's the thing: like these are all arguments that like actually can't even be proved. Like you're just kind of assuming that Ashura is stronger than King of Hell. There's really no way to actually prove that, and like people in the chat are saying like there's a One Piece magazine that just straight up says that King of Hell is stronger. But even if we ignore that, what difference does that make against someone like Luffy that he can't hit because he doesn't have future sight?
Right. So, like I said, first Luffy got hit multiple times outside of even while learning future sight outside of Kaido, I believe. Here, I can actually like show like even when was it?
Like, yeah, what proof do you have that Zoro could hit him, though?
Well, Zoro is relative to Luffy in base speed. What makes you think that he's not?
I'm saying even if he's slightly faster, he can't hit Luffy, because we see that in Luffy versus Katakuri. Luffy is implied to be slightly faster than Katakuri in reaction speed, because Katakuri's seeing into the future, but Luffy is not. But Luffy's still able to dodge his attacks. He dodges multiple fatal blows like throughout the beginning of the fight, because like Katakuri has the mole spear and he's trying to kill him with it, but Luffy's just dodging and staying alive. Even though Katakuri's like seeing the future, trying to hit him where he's going to be, Luffy's still dodging it. Despite that, Luffy can't land a single attack on Katakuri the entire fight until Luffy develops future sight himself. So, like, my question is, like, how is Zoro going to hit someone with future sight when he's never once done that in the entire series?
Well, like I said, he is Kaido. Yeah, just like I don't know. You bring up a really valid point. I'll have to honestly prove that. So King, he doesn't have future sight, right?
I mean, if King had future sight, like, you'd think they would mention it.
I can like, there's on his Diva card. I can just look it up real quick. Give me 1 second.
Like, if we're gonna use the Vivre card stuff, then in that case, like, you'd probably have to accept the fact that King of Hell is stronger than Ashura too.
If I were to accept that, I would say that okay, like if King of Hell is stronger than like Ashura, then it's more than likely, because like I said, like Zoro wasn't going out. He couldn't even go all out even if he wanted to, because the sword was holding him back. While he also took previous damage, then I'm willing to concede that King of Hell is stronger than Ashura. If you're willing to concede that that Ashura right there is stronger than like that King of Hell that we've seen previously, as in, how can I say that in more simple terms? the Ashura that we've seen versus Kaido is stronger than that King of Hell. But if Zoro were to activate King of Hell and Egghead Island, then I'm willing to concede that King of Hell will be stronger than Ashura, of course.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, based off of the feats, there's nothing that Zoro's displayed that would prove that he could even hit Luffy using Future Sight, for one. And then the other thing is, like, honestly, it's debatable if he's even, like, on Luffy's tier of power using Gear 3. Like, the attack that, this, like, Gatling version of Thunder Bagua that Luffy just counters is absolutely insane. Especially when you consider Luffy's base form punches was already on par with Ashura. So it's like, I mean, like, Luffy, like, really the scale we get here is that Luffy in base form is relative to Zoro's Ashura. Then when he uses Gear Second, becomes much more powerful than that, and then uses Gear 3 and becomes much more powerful than Gear Second. He's actually just so strong, it's actually insane. And he can use Future Sight and he ignores durability all at the same time. What I really think would happen is if Luffy fights Egghead Island Zoro and he's just using Gear 2, Gear 3, Future Sight, and Rio. It goes very similar to Luffy versus Katakuri, but like every hit Luffy does ignores durability and just like wears Zoro down until he's cooked. I don't even know if Zoro, like, it's really hard to even make an argument that Zoro could hit him. Like if Luffy's really going all out.
I'm gonna give you this debate. I'm not really like a One Piece debater. It's been like a minute since I even watched the show, but I'll give you that only because I have to like actually like gain more knowledge on the whole entire scenario in order to make counter debates. And I'm not gonna do that right now. It's pretty late. So
oh no, it's all good.
You won that.
Oh no, it's all good. That was a fun debate, and we can talk about like Hunter x Hunter stuff afterwards. Yeah, I let that one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I let that one go way more than 15 because that was a very fun debate. So I'm happy that you tuned into this one. Yeah, you add a lot to the debates, man. So now let me see here. So Cosmic Cookie, did you? Oh wait, did you want to say any last things, King Shadow, before I let someone else go?
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, let someone else off. That's fine. Everything's good.
Okay, sick. Cosmic Cookie, did you want to share anything, bro?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How you doing?
I'm fine. Your point about Asura being the limit, wouldn't you say that Asura would grow after his fight with King?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Asura would be stronger.
Like in Egghead Island, Zoro's Ashura would be stronger than the Wano version?
Yeah, much stronger.
Yes, but so would Luffy.
That's true, but you were downplaying Asura with saying that's his limit. But after King of Hell, Asura is probably stronger than King of Hell, right?
I think that's kind of debatable. I was seeing some people in the chat say that there was something like some One Piece magazine that said King of Hell was stronger, but there's some debate over that, it seems. So I'm actually not sure which attack is stronger. I myself thought that King of Hell was stronger, but it's kind of a debatable thing.
I mean, it's 9 sword style versus 3 sword style.
Yeah, that's true.
And about the one that Asura wasn't able to knock down Kaido, I could go the other way around where Luffy didn't scar Kaido.
Yeah, but like that wasn't Luffy's goal. Like and I mean, and Luffy proceeds to just knock Kaido unconscious as well. So that's something Zoro like couldn't even dream of doing. But yeah, but the real difference is that Zoro word for word says he was hoping it would knock him off his feet, and then the next page, like, Oda goes out of his way to show Luffy do that in base form. It seems the whole point of it is to show you how strong Luffy is.
Maybe, but I think Scar is better, right?
Maybe. I mean that itself is debatable. And the fact that it's like we have to debate what's stronger, Zoro's strongest move or Luffy's base form punch without even using his devil fruit already does say a lot about the difference in their stats.
True, that's true. That's true. I mean, I don't even think Zoro is stronger. I just argued because everybody is saying Luffy wins.
Oh no, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and I also had the debate kind of late at night, so maybe like not that many people are awake still, but
And about the future side, do you think that category beats Zoro?
sorry, what was that?
You said that future side would be a problem for Zoro, right? Zoro would not even be able to land against Luffy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that category beats Zoro?
No, because Zoro like outstats Katakuri massively. Like it's to a very considerable margin. Oh wait, just sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna pause the timer. I'm gonna let my cat back in the room. She's just crying outside my door. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, no, the reason why I lean towards saying that Zoro would defeat Katakuri is because for one, observation hockey gets weaker, like it can run out as the fight goes on. That's something that Luffy says. And we also see, just like based on how the fight with Katakuri versus Luffy went, we know that Zoro's stats are just way higher than Katakuri's. The simplest way you can prove it is that Katakuri hit Luffy. Katakuri hit Luffy with his strongest attacks for 11 hours straight and still could not knock him unconscious. And Luffy knocked Katakuri out after just like a few attacks. Then we see an even stronger Luffy fights Kaido, hits him with his strongest moves. Kaido can't even feel it. Like the same amount of damage that it took to knock Katakuri out, like Kaido couldn't even feel it. Then Zoro on the rooftop surpasses that just with like normal slashes. So it's like that's showing you that Zoro could potentially like literally one-shot Katakuri. And also like another thing is even though Katakuri couldn't knock Luffy out after 11 hours, Kaido one-shot him. So it shows you like one attack from Kaido is beyond 11 hours of Katakuri's attacks all together. And we see we see Zoro survive attacks from Kaido. So it's like there's a real chance that Zoro could just stand there, take every attack from Katakuri for 11 hours, and then just one-shot him.
I mean, the problem isn't the attack power, right? Zoro can definitely beat category if he can land a hit, but the problem is the future side, which we were talking about.
Yes, but but Luffy also states that observation hockey gets weaker like over time. Zoro's defense scales so massively above Katakuri's like stats that he could like. All right, so one thing, let's say that Zoro isn't fast enough to just overpower it, because we see there's two different ways you could argue this. One, you could just say Zoro's so much faster than Katakuri that even while seeing the future, Zoro would still hit him. That's what happens with Luffy versus Kaido, actually. On the rooftop, like Luffy uses the future sight, tries to dodge Thunder Bagua, but still gets like clipped by it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, you could argue that Zoro might be able to just do the same thing to Katakuri and just cook him that way. But if you said that he can't hit Katakuri, then you just have to keep in mind that, like, observation hockey does get weaker over time. Zoro, like, could withstand more than 11 hours worth of his attacks, and he really only needs to land one good attack to win. So, it's just like the odds of victory for Zoro are, like, just much higher than they are for Katakuri.
But it's not like category's attack power is weak. It's just when category and Luffy fought, Luffy's hand were swelling because category's attack power was better. So Katakuri is not weak per se.
Katakuri's not weak compared to Whole Cake Island Luffy, but he is weak compared to Rooftop Zoro and like Rooftop Luffy. Because like back in Whole Cake Island, Luffy was like more on par with third division commander level characters. Like he was, I mean, if you go back and watch Whole Cake Island, he was getting overpowered by Cracker until he used Gear 4. So it's like the difference in power between that Luffy and the current in the Rooftop Luffy was gigantic. Because every major battle in One Piece, especially when you have hockey, you get hockey blooms and your like hockey gets stronger. So it's like really Whole Cake Island was a long training arc for Luffy where like every major battle he fought, he got a little bit stronger. But like back in Whole Cake Island, Luffy was pretty weak compared to who he is now. So Katakuri overpowering someone who like couldn't even overpower Cracker without using Gear 4 isn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah, so do you think that Luffy compared to Katakuri is just much faster and his future side is much better?
He's much faster and like he's better in every area. Like if Luffy fought Katakuri right now, he could literally one shot him the same way that Kaido one shot Luffy at the start of Wano.
No. I'm talking about like just speed and future side.
Future Sight is probably just on par, but in terms of speed, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's it. I don't have more points.
Oh, okay. No, well, thank you for sharing, bro. Let's see. So Don C, would you like to share?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Just give me 1 sec. I'm gonna have to put my cat outside of my room again, bro. I just let her in here for 1 second. She's immediately trying to box me. Hold on. Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Sorry, bro. So okay. So Don C, how are you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm fine. You?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So yeah, who do you think would win between Gear 2 and 3 Luffy versus Zoro?
I think Zoro takes it.
Okay.
So I wasn't around for the explanation part of the live stream. So I kind of gathered your points throughout the debate. Yeah, so basically, if it's a Gear 2 and Gear 3 Luffy, is this from Wano?
Sorry, did you say if it's Gear 2 and Gear 3 Luffy, is it from Wano? Is that what you said?
Yeah, is it a Wano Gear 3 Luffy? Gear 2 and Gear 3?
So we're talking about Egghead Island for the debate.
Oh, okay.
And Donzi, is there any chance that you'd be able to make the audio sound a little bit more clear? Is there any way? Or... If not, it's okay.
I don't think so. I'm using my headphones.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Alright. Yeah. So Zoro and Luffy are we're comparing both Egghead Island.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I still think Zoro takes it.
Okay, so
I think Zoro has proven that he's relative to even a Gear 5 Luffy by fighting Lucci.
So you think Lucci's relative to Gear 5?
I think he was able to keep up with Gear 5, yes.
Well, here's a couple.
In terms of speed.
So, just to make sure I'm understanding right, you think that Lucci is like about as fast as Gear 5, about as strong as Gear 5, and about as durable?
No,
In terms of speed, I think he was able to keep up with Gear 5, yes. He was fighting Gear 5. I'm not saying he's stronger, because he was clearly beaten, but he was able to keep up, so it was somewhat relative. And Zoro was doing the same thing.
Well, there is a scene in their battle where Luffy's like so much faster than Lucci, he literally falls asleep mid-attack and still dodges him.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is why I don't like when people argue that for Gear 5, because that's literally how the transformation works. It's very silly. He doesn't take it seriously. You can say that, oh, Gear 5 Luffy loaded the Kaido because he was using him as a skipping rope, or he was just messing around the entire fight. That's how the transformation kind of works. It's a very disrespectful transformation.
Well,
You can't just use that as an argument to say, oh yeah, he just wasn't taking the fight seriously. That's the entire transformation.
well, here's the thing. Here, hold on. There's a lot of ways to prove that Luffy wasn't taking the fight seriously. So one thing here, I have this on my screen here. Luffy uses Gear 5 in Elbaf against a random snake. Do you think this random snake is Gear 5 level?
No, I don't. But I do think that there's a possibility where Lucci and Luffy in their awakened forms are relative, and then Luffy would still be able to bring it out against a because I don't think Luffy really needed to use Gear 5 against Lucci. But again, I feel like he does like going into that form, so him using it whenever he can, I still think that's a possibility.
So the thing
You
is,
know what I'm saying?
so the thing is, like, I would say that this scene here, Luffy using Gear 5 against a random snake and his own team members saying, like, that's way too much power, you don't need to do that. This is showing you that just because Luffy's using Gear 5 doesn't mean he needs to use it. It also doesn't even mean...
And I agree with it.
It also doesn't even mean that he's going all out. So, like, in his fight against Lucci, Lucci gets absolutely decimated. And there's different degrees. Like, yes, you can say that Luffy's form is always silly, but there's a big difference between, like, turning an enemy into a jump rope and literally being so fast that you can take a nap mid-fight and still not get hit. That's a completely different thing. That's showing, like, one of them, Luffy turning Kaido into a jump rope, that's him using his ability to do a funny gag. Luffy sleeping mid-attack, still dodging while asleep, is showing a massive difference in reaction speed. He never does that to Kaido.
I think scaling like feats is kind of a bit meh. I'm
But
pretty sure you can find a panel where he was sleeping against Kaido as well in Gear 5.
there actually isn't one. And, like, the other thing, it's like, if you want to say...
Have you checked?
Yes. And another thing is, if you say scaling gag feats isn't good, then that's all Gear 5 is. Like, that kind of... I mean, I could literally make the argument that Luffy's not even using Advanced Conqueror's Haki the entire time he's fighting Lucci. I could make the argument he's not using Rio the entire time he's fighting Lucci. He could literally just be using the weakest of his attack. Like, you could make an argument that Luffy in Gear 4 with Advanced Conqueror's Haki would be, and Rio together would be stronger than Gear 5 without it.
Really?
Yeah, because Rio ignores durability altogether. And Advanced...
So when it comes to Luffy using Gear 5, he can turn his opponents into rubber. And we've seen him do that against Lucci. And I'm pretty sure that negates durability too.
It might, but the other thing is,
And
like...
he gets a strength buff as well.
Well, the other thing is, like, you really do have to consider how massive of a power-up Advanced Conqueror's Haki actually is. Advanced Conqueror's Haki on its own is a bigger power-up than Gear 4 is. Like, much bigger. Yes, we see that with Luffy versus Kaido, because we see at the start of Wano, Luffy in Gear 4 is getting, like, he literally gets one shot by Kaido. Then we see the moment Luffy awakens Advanced Conqueror's Haki, he's splitting the sky with Kaido, he's clashing with Kaido. over like doing things more powerful than Ashura, all in base form, not even using Gear 2 or Gear 3.
Okay, wait, but let me get back to my main point. I was saying that he was relative in speed. I'm not saying power. I'm saying he was able to keep up with Gear 4 Luffy. And even if you want to say power, he did clash with Gear 5. There was a panel of him clashing with Gear 5 using Armament Haki, and they both flew in opposite directions. So he is relative to some degree. I'm not saying that he's definitely got a chance against him, or Luffy needs to like whip out conquerors and advanced conquerors against them. Because I feel like if he were to do that, he would win. But he's somewhat relative to a no advanced conquerors Haki, Gear 5, Luke, and Lucci. And Zoro was keeping up with that handily.
Well, I mean, I would just go ahead and say, like, I can very easily say that's Luffy not using Rio, not using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. So that's a huge.
You don't know he's not using Rio. You can see that he's using Haki.
But you don't know that he is. It's like, if you want to use a point like that, you should just stick to things that are like proven, because you can't say that he's using Rio and that he's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. There's actually no way to prove that in that one clash.
So does he have to say, "Oh, I'm using Rio now"? I think if a story did that, that'd be very, I don't know, exposition is not a very good way of telling a story. If it was like, "Oh, I'm gonna use Rio now. Let me use my Armament Haki punch to punch you in this clash."
No, he wouldn't.
Kind of like,
he wouldn't have to say that for the story, but he would need to say it if you want to use it in the debate. Because like you're essentially saying you're just high, like what you're saying is something that would be considered a highball. That's like the highest possible interpretation. Like you're like that because there's other interpretations that are equally as likely and some would argue more logical. Like in a scene like that where we don't know for certain if Luffy's using Rio and Advanced Conqueror's Haki or not, just assuming that he is with no evidence, that's a highball. That's like the highest possible interpretation. I think it's better to just use like medium and low ball interpretations, and that's kind of what I'm doing for Luffy. Like, because I'm saying like with just medium low ball Gear 2nd, Gear 3 Luffy, he's still scaling above everything Zoro's displayed. Like even if I mean, yeah,
I don't agree with that.
Well, it's like we really do see it as a fact, because like for example, we see Gear 3 and Gear 3 Luffy clashes with this Gatling version of Thunder Bagua from Man Beast form Kaido, just clashes with it no problem. You can make a strong argument that that technique would have killed Zoro. But not even counting that, we literally see base form Luffy do something that Ashura could not do. Like, so that's showing you that base form Luffy is bare minimum relative to Ashura. Then he can stack Gear 2nd and Gear 3 on top of that. That's a lot of power to deal with. And then you factor in the fact that Luffy has Future Sight and Zoro doesn't. Even if you wanted to say that Zoro was faster than Luffy, he still wouldn't be able to land an attack on a Future Sight using Luffy. So it's like you're dealing with a situation where you have someone who can't be hit, who can hit you whenever he wants to, and he has Rio and is ignoring durability.
Okay, so let's address the first point there. So you said that Gear 3, or no gears, Luffy was able to perform a feat that was better than Ashura. Is that what you said at the start?
Yeah, well, he's performing the thing that Zoro failed to do. Zoro said he was hoping it would knock him on his back, and he couldn't do it, so Zoro failed. But then Luffy succeeds.
Okay, so let me try and like counter that without the full context. So Zoro was using Ashura. First of all, he just took a combined Yonko attack right before. So he used Ashura. He was actually clashing with Zoro in Ashura. That counts as a point what you said earlier in another debate, saying that it's just a one attack transformation. It's not like you said it wasn't a transformation, it was just like an attack. That counts as that. Because he was deflecting Kaido's Econobo before he actually landed the last Dead Man's Game attack on him. And when he did land that Dead Man's Game on him, he started. Now, if I were to if I had I don't know, beef with someone, beef with you, Lilos, and I struck you down with a knife. That's not gonna. The force of that is not gonna push you down. But if I were to punch you, yes, that would probably knock you down. Those are two different attacks. And if Luffy left like a bruise or a scar that lingered and stayed on Kaido, I would say that's equal, or if not better. But Zoro left a scar that would leave a mark on Kaido for the rest of his life. That is a much better feat than what Luffy did with Advanced Conquerors. And Zoro did not have Advanced Conquerors. I don't see how. Okay, maybe Zoro wanted to knock him on his feet, but I think what Oda was trying to do narratively is say, okay, he wasn't able to knock him on his feet, but what he did was in actuality better than what he was hoping because he left the scar. Even Kaido was saying, okay, I mean, yeah, but you did well to leave a scar on me. That's what he said to it.
Those are
If you
fair.
know what I'm trying to say.
Those are fair points, but the thing is, like, it doesn't change the fact that Zoro failed at what he was trying to do with the attack. Like, he said he was hoping that's what it would do, and it didn't. So Zoro failed with
Yeah,
that.
but like, yeah, I know it's easy to be like, oh yeah, he just didn't do what he wanted to do, and that means he failed. Okay, he failed in that. But I think the point in that scene was he did better than he actually thought he did. He didn't even know he had conquered Saki, and Kaido was like, oh, so you're a conqueror too? And he was like, yeah, this will leave a scar on me.
I
He
mean,
was saying all that because he respected the fact that he did.
it's
I know
impressive.
Luffy came in, sorry, yeah?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yes, it's impressive that he did that, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, Luffy easily does the thing Zoro can't do. Zoro can't knock him onto his back. He proved that right there. Zoro can't do
Yeah,
it.
but these are
Luffy
different
can.
attacks, Lilos. This is a cutting attack versus a punching attack. These are different types of attacks. I'm more likely to knock someone off their feet with a punch than with a slice. I think that's the crux of the argument here because
Well,
if you're scaling Luffy off of that, which is Zoro's strongest form and attack,
well, I
of
mean,
course you're gonna say Gear 2 and Gear 3 is stronger than Zoro going all out. I
Well-
think that's kind of a crazy, disingenuous thing to say.
well, I think it's more just a, like, straight up representation of power because, like, let's say you also have to consider that One Piece is kind of like a wacky verse. Like, this is literally a verse where Brook doesn't take lightning damage just because he doesn't have skin. Like, let's say, for example, that you replace Kaido with Brook. Do you think that Ashura would knock Brook onto his back?
Yes,
Yes, right?
Like,
Because he's strong enough to do that. What this is showing you is Zoro, even if you want to say he did better than he thought, Zoro was not. This is just a fact. You can say that. Yes, it's a cutting attack. Yes, Luffy's attack has some punching force. That's fine, but it's still a undeniable fact that Zoro was too weak to knock Kaido onto his back. Luffy is not.
the thing is, like, yeah, he was 2 weeks knocking on his back, but he left the lasting scar on him. But you think the attack potency there should tell you, okay, yes, this is a stronger attack than Luffy's attack.
No, I think the most you can say is that Zoro with his strongest attack is relative to, like, casual Odin attacks. That's, like, kind of the best you can do with that. Because and even if you want to say that, it's like Luffy's reminding Kaido of Odin just in Gear 2 and Gear 3. Like,
When was that?
that's like the whole point of him saying, like, when was the last time someone could truly go toe to toe with me?
Oh, like, I don't think you understand where I'm kind of coming from, and I think other people are trying to explain this to you as well. Like, you don't understand how significant leaving a wound, a lasting wound on Kaido is compared to, okay, Luffy coming in with a red rock. Oh,
It scales to Paradise Totsuka. Like, the only
It knocks Kaido on his feet. That's not really equivalent to leaving a lasting scar on his body. He's gonna remember Zoro's lasting scar. He's not gonna remember these other attacks that Luffy landed that, okay, maybe I copped up blood, maybe I landed on my back. Because Zoro was trying to make him land on his back, like, okay, yeah, he didn't do that. But what he really did was a lot more impressive than that.
I mean,
I
I
don't
could
think Oda, yeah.
I could make the argument that maybe some of the samurai slashes would scar him too. The samurai were cutting him
Nah,
too.
no. Because he was saying that all together, they attacked all together, and Kaido was like, yeah, this is not even deep enough to reopen my wound. And
That's a fair point. That's
already
true.
disproven.
That's true. That's true. But it's like, okay, so I mean, how strong exactly do you think that is? A little stronger than base Luffy, maybe? Ashura? Like, it's like, how
No,
high
I
can you
think-
even
I think
scale
Ashura-
that? How high can you even scale
In,
it?
in Punk Hazard, I think Ashura is relative to Gear 5.
So let's just be honest here. When Ashura was first introduced, it was relative to Gear 2. So like,
Okay.
where is this massive jump coming from?
Okay, so it was revealed at the same time as Gear 2, right? And Gear 5, right?
It was relative.
Okay.
So what was shown was it was relative to Gear 2. And Luffy was like
Okay.
massively above the rest of his, well, he was a good amount above the rest of his crew because like Zoro and Sanji got 1 power up, but Luffy got 2 power ups. He got Gear 2 and Gear 3. So it's like, I mean, even it seems like the strongest point you have here is that like Zoro scarred Kaido, so that's impressive. But what I'm saying is it's not really that impressive compared to everything else Luffy does. Like, I would argue that Luffy clashing with this Thunder Bagua Gatling is more impressive than that. That's-
True, but if you want to talk about how like the powers relate to each other, after a time skip, Luffy was using Gear 3, Gear 2, and Zoro hadn't used Ashura like at all. And you know Ashura retroactively is Conqueror's Haki. So I think Ashura is like in a league of his own. Coming out of the time skip in Fisherman Island, Jinbei was checking Gear 2. That is actually the thing that happened in the story. He was like, oh, if this is the best you have, then forget about being a pirate. I'm pretty sure he said something along those lines. Gear 2 is not relative in portrayal to Ashura. Even though it got revealed at the same time, it's not relative at all.
Well, Fishman Island Luffy's
So-
Gear 2 is not the same thing as Rooftop Wano with Advanced Conqueror Hockey Luffy's Gear 2. Those are like completely different things.
Because Advanced Conqueror's Haki boosts your speed.
Sorry, what was that?
I don't think Advanced Conqueror's Haki boosts your speed. And we know that Luffy pre-Gear 4 wasn't really able to do anything against Cracker. I mean, I think... I
Wait,
think
what
Gear
is
2
what
the
is that?
recommend-
I'm not
Luffy-
following. Like, what does that have to do with it? Actually, I'm just not following. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just talking about how Gear 2 isn't like, it doesn't... You're saying that, okay, each arc, Luffy has a Haki bloom, right? So he's getting stronger and stronger. I'm saying those blooms don't really necessarily equate to Gear 2 becoming stronger or faster.
It definitely gets stronger because like his hockey's getting stronger.
But how does his Haki improve his speed?
Well, I mean, I could make an argument that it does, but even if it doesn't, like, how does that change anything?
I'm just saying that it doesn't scale as high as you think it is compared to Zoro.
I mean, do you have anything to back that up?
Jinbei was checking Gear 2
But
at the time skip.
But that's Fishman Island Luffy. Like, Fishman Island Luffy is like a fodder character to Wano Luffy.
Okay, I'll push it further. Luffy was using Gear 2nd against Katakuri. I think what's going on.
Look-
I think what's happening.
The gap between, like, if you took Luffy from Wano, the Luffy that beats Katakuri, you give him full HP, and you have him fight Rooftop Luffy, who awakens Conqueror's Haki, Luffy would literally one-shot him.
Because of the Conqueror's Haki.
Yes.
Yeah. But in terms of speed, what kind of like training did he do to take Gear 2nd speed all
Well-
the way over Zoro
Well,
in like it's a one arc?
well, I mean, like, why are you focusing on the speed so much?
Because you're saying that Gear 2 and Gear 3 is enough to take out Zoro, which I don't think is true at all.
but it's just like
it was way above Gear 2 and Gear 3.
so here's something like
relative to Gear 4.
this scene here where like Luffy clashes with the Thunderbogwa Gatling. What would Zoro do here?
Do you want me to say like a full healthy Zoro?
Yeah, what would he do in this situation? How could he counter that? Because keep in mind, he was literally getting sent flying by King. He was getting overpowered by King. Do you think King has anything that could just counter this?
Okay, so are you saying a full healthy Zoro or Zoro?
Yes, full health. I'm saying,
okay,
I'm saying like,
full health Zoro.
I'm saying you take like Zoro who fought King. He took this like plot armor medicine that made him have 100% power, right? So, and he fights King, and then King is just sending him flying. Like they clash with each other multiple times. Like I have it on the screen right now. This is them clashing, and King's just sending him flying through buildings, like overpowering him multiple times. And then even when Zoro goes into his King of Hell state, King is still clashing with Zoro, still like matching him in power. So first
Okay, so the thing is, I don't think Zoro was full power then, but that's another thing. So you're saying, okay, what can Zoro do against a barrage of those attacks that Kaido was doing with Luffy where he was clashing with Gear 3? I'd say Ashura, Conqueror's Haki, stands there and blocked it. That's what I would say, because he was able to block no, I'm not saying he completely blocked it, but he was able to stall the combined Yonko attack against him on the rooftop.
For one,
So, and those attacks are not relative to Yonko using an attack against 5 different individuals. So I'd say that Ashura is enough to block that barrage of attacks.
so Zoro, like he blocked it for 1 second and broke almost all the bones in his body. So like based
Which
off,
is understandable.
so I mean, do you think he would break all the bones in his body here?
No, because it's nowhere near relative to 2 Yonko's attacks. That's just one attack by,
It was
by Yonko.
I could argue that this attack is relative to it, because that was like, think about it like this. It was a casual attack from Kaido mixed with a casual attack from Big Mom. That's just 2 attacks, 2 casual attacks
It
together.
was intended to wipe out the supernova in one go.
Yes, they were fodder compared to them at that point. That's why. So like here's the thing.
What?
Clearly, like they were so weak compared to the Yonko that Kaido was literally just letting them hit him, trying to like see what they could do. Like the start of the fight, Zoro chops him in the neck and it doesn't even cut his skin, man. But here's the other thing. It's let me just say this. The combined attack that broke all of Zoro's bones after blocking it for 1 second, that was 1 casual attack from Kaido, 1 casual attack from Big Mom. Here,
That was very disingenuous.
it's what it was. But here you have
It
Kaido.
was not a casual attack. It was aimed to take them all out. That's not casual.
It is casual because they can like cook these guys, man. They're like, the Yonko are on a completely different tier than the Supernova. That's why, like, that's why they were able to fight them. Well, that's why they were able to fight them in a 2v4, just casually take all of their strongest moves, brush it off, and keep fighting. But anyway, like the point I was trying to make, even if you say it's a normal attack, let's say it was a normal attack from Kaido. Let me say it like this: it was 1 named attack from Kaido versus like 1 named attack from Big Mom combined together. This move Kaido does is like dozens of Thunderbogwas over and over. The same Thunderbogwa that's like one-shotting start of Wano Luffy, and Luffy just casually just.
Ashura's Conqueror's Haki. I can say Ashura, a full health Zoro using Ashura, to be able to defend against it. That's what I'm saying.
But there's nothing that backs that up though, because like Zoro, the only time he blocks a named attack from Kaido, he breaks all his bones.
But that wasn't just from Kaido. That's Kaido and Big Mom, and that's literally one of the strongest attacks we've seen in a series. And we know Ashura is a massive strength boost. We know it's Conqueror's Haki, and we also know that he's unlocked advanced Conqueror's Haki as well. So if he uses that with Ashura,
Well, here's another.
I'd say he's got a good chance at defending and coming out there.
So I mean, if that's the case, do you think King could defend against this too?
Against
This
Kaido's attack.
this Kaido's like Thunder Bagua Gatling, could King defend against it? He would just like clash
I
with it.
wouldn't say. I wouldn't say he would, because I think Conqueror's Haki is a way to bypass the defenses.
So wait, you're saying someone who's stronger than Zoro can't defend it, but Zoro can?
You think King is stronger than Zoro?
Clearly.
But Zoro beat him at the end of the arc.
So I mean, so here's a couple things. One, throughout, as I said before he awoke in King of Hell, the entire fight Zoro was just getting sent flying. Like if you actually count, like
you have to take into account Zoro's nerves during that fight.
But
he just come from the rooftop and he was fighting Enma.
So here's the thing. The manga word for word disagrees with you.
Okay.
Word for word. It literally says this medicine will make you fight at 100% power. And the only drawback is that when the medicine runs out, you'll have twice the damage. Nowhere do they say, oh yeah, you'll fight at 100% power, but you're going to feel tired from your injuries. You're going to feel that. You think they would say that when they mention the drawbacks. They don't say that. Okay, so this whole... Hold on, let me finish this point. This whole idea that even though he's at 100%, he's not really at 100% because I want to say that, the manga doesn't agree with you. So that's one thing. The other thing is, like, we just straight up see Zoro get overpowered. Oh, here's the other thing. King isn't at 100% power either. He fought Marco. We saw him taking attacks from Marco and getting hit by him. And he fought Sanji. So it's like King fought Marco and Sanji, then fight Zoro. Meanwhile, Zoro has medicine to make him go 100%. Like King didn't have any medicine to make him 100%. So, I mean, even if you wanted to like somehow say, even though the plot tells us Zoro's at 100%, he still isn't. Well, we see King isn't either, and he still just overpowers him the entire fight until King of Hell. And the other thing is, if King had just kept using his flame mode, the medicine would have worn off, and then Zoro would have lost anyway. So, and Zoro himself straight up says he couldn't fight for long because King of Hell was killing him. So it's like legitimately, if King just kept the flame mode on, he would have just won.
Okay, so I've got 2 points to that. So, do we know if that incorporates his stamina or endurance? Okay, you can't feel the pain anymore, you can fight 100%, but we don't know of his endurance. And to me, in that fight...
But he never even...
If you don't want to use that point...
He doesn't ever say that. Like, well, if it did... Like, here's the thing.
Okay, forget about that point. Okay, just let me try and...
Oh, okay.
Respond to you. Okay. So we know that Enma was also sucking his haki out of him. That takes a lot. That takes a lot out of Zoro. That affects how he fights.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we know that King is an awakened zone. Not awakened. He's an ancient zone. Okay? So we know that he can bounce back from attacks. We know that he's got a lot of endurance. We know that because everything that happened took within a space of an hour, really, on Nagashima. Mm-hmm. I'd say that because of his ancient zone, because he's also a Lunarian, he's able to take a lot of damage and then come back and then just and fight near 100%. I don't think that's too crazy to say that because he's a Lunarian and he's got an ancient zone. So if you want to say that he was weakened when he fought Zoro, I'd argue against that, saying that look at his powers, look at his ability, look at his genetic makeup. I'd say he's able to go and fight for very long periods of time at peak performance. When it comes to Zoro versus King, during that fight, yes, King was overpowering Zoro. When Zoro understood and unlocked Enma, I'd say the fight went from even to, okay, now I'm able to use advanced Conqueror's Haki. I can win the fight, and you win the fight. So, okay, yeah, at a period of time, King was stronger. But obviously, we know that Zoro won the fight because of the power up. So that's why I'm saying that, okay, Zoro, after he got the power up in Egghead Island, he would be able to use Ashura to defend against Kaido using, I forgot what it's called, the multiple thunder buckles that you're talking about. Yes, he would be able to do that. And King with him because he's now stronger than King.
Well, so here's my argument. If King can't do it and we see King overpower Zoro, then that means Zoro can't do it. And
he can't, but he overpowered a weaker Zoro. We're talking about Egghead Island Zoro, who's now stronger than King.
yes, but Luffy's stronger. Luffy's
No.
stronger too. So what difference does that make, really?
Luffy's stronger than who?
No. So you're saying Egghead Island Zoro is stronger than Wano Zoro, right?
No, I said Egghead Island Zoro is stronger than King, because that's the argument. We're
Okay.
talking about Egghead Island Zoro.
Okay, that's okay. You can say that. Like, here's the point I'm trying to make. Zoro, from what we've seen, this Thunder Bagua Gatling might be at the limits of his ability, but Luffy can handle it with Gear 3. Even if you want to say Zoro gets stronger the next arc, so does Luffy. So it doesn't change the dynamic. Luffy's still above him.
I'm not saying that Zoro, Luffy is above Zoro, but not in Gear 2 and Gear 3.
But so far you
I think
haven't.
Zoro can take.
So far you
Huh?
haven't proven that, though.
I'm proving it by saying that with Ashura and King of Hell, Zoro will be able to compete with Luffy. Because you've seen that his relative to Gear 5, Oda is showing the relativity by showing us Lucci.
If you
Lucci was able to keep up with Gear 5.
Yes,
Zoro
if you
was able to keep up
highball
with
it.
Gear 5.
Yeah.
It took Luffy 3 named attacks to take down Lucci, and Lucci got up within 30 seconds. When it came to Zoro, when he was told to lock in by Sanji, all it took was 1 attack, and arguably that wasn't an advanced Conqueror's Haki attack.
And
That was him flexing Conqueror's Haki.
and Lucci, so let's just be completely honest here. Like, Lucci was still conscious after Zoro. Like, let's just be straight up. Lucci fought Zoro for about 30 chapters, and Zoro still didn't even knock him out. Luffy hit Lucci 3 times, and he passed out. And you're also highballing Lucci very high because you're just assuming that Luffy's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki and assuming that he's using Rio at the same time. You can't prove
I didn't assume. I conceded to that point because
So-
I can't prove that.
So that is highballed Lucci. Like, if you highball him, then let's highball Luffy. If I'm highballing Luffy, this attack here that he's countering against Kaido. If we're if you want to use that feat and highball Zoro, highball Lucci, I mean, then I'll highball Luffy. This Gatling attack that Luffy's just easily countering is stronger than the attack that broke all the bones in Zoro's body, because this is Luffy countering dozens to hundreds of attacks from a Yonko. Meanwhile, Zoro got his bone broken by just 2 attacks from a Yonko. If we're just gonna highball everything, I'll highball Luffy, and in that case, there's nothing Zoro can even do to come close to him.
I think we're downplaying Zoro. I think a lot of things. he said
We're
was
actually
incorrect,
highballing
and-
him. We're highballing him.
No, because you're saying that he only took 1 attack from a Yonko when it was 2.
Yeah, I
and
did.
It was multiple attacks.
No, yeah,
Zoro didn't take 30 chapters. I mean, he took 30 chapters to take down Lucci, but in reality, it was only like 10 minutes. Like, and Zoro really and truly took down Lucci in 1 attack, and a Gear 5 Luffy, it took him 3. And okay, yes.
Wait, so
maybe Lucci,
so you think that means Zoro fought him that whole time and couldn't hit him once? What does that tell you?
so this is the thing, right?
He was using King of Hell too,
Zoro-
by the way.
But-
Oh,
but-
Snailium,
but-
dude, thank you for becoming. Oh
He
wait,
was still in the fight.
just
That was his whole point. That he was.
one question,
Yeah.
Don. 1 second, Donzi. I just got a notification. It says Snailium's been a member for a month, or he just became a member. I don't know which one. Well, thank you, Snailium, and I think he left a message saying equal stats, including hockey, Luffy versus Zoro. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that, but thanks for being a member, Snailium. Sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead, Donzi.
Sorry, I know I'm not really supposed to talk, but I think he means just like if everything was equalized, who would win? Like,
Oh, if everything's equal, still Luffy because he has Future Sight and Zoro and Rio. But
I'm not gonna lie, Luffy is crack, dude. Can I debate you guys, by the way? After you're done.
yeah, like Donzi, let's go another like maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
I don't want to take up too much time, so.
no, this is a fun debate. I'm having a fun time. So, but
Yeah, same to us, but
what
yeah,
were you
what I
saying?
wanted to say was when it came to Lucci versus Zoro, I think Zoro, and this is very like contentious. I think Oda wasn't very clear on how and on what Zoro's intentions were during the fight. But I think he was trying to stall out the fight with Lucci so that he knew where Lucci was the entire time on the island. So that if he did, let's say he did take him out with the same attack that he used at the end, because we know that Lucci, is a awakened Zoan, he's able to recover from attacks very quickly. He recovered from 3 Gear 5 attacks from Luffy in under 30 seconds, because remember, Luffy had to go to the Fabio phase, and he had to take the train, and the train was counting down to 30 seconds. Luffy landed the last attack on Lucci, he lost consciousness, and then in the next panel, after we see Luffy get onto the train to the Fabio phase, we see Lucci there on top of Sentomaru, or next to Sentomaru, and he has like a few minor scratches, and he's okay, he's awake again. So we can infer with the countdown of 30 seconds that he regained consciousness in under 30 seconds. But when it came to Zoro, okay, he didn't lose consciousness, but he was definitely not going to get up and start fighting again. He had 3 deep cuts in his body. Sorry. I'm just saying that we can use Lucci to measure or to see how relative Luffy and Zoro are, and I don't think you can say, oh, Luffy wasn't using. Okay, you can say that Luffy wasn't using Rio, he wasn't using Conqueror's Haki, but I can easily say that Zoro wasn't using Ashura. Zoro went down to using 2 swords at one point. Zoro wasn't always using King of Hell mode or whatever.
But
I'm
yeah,
just saying that to say that Gear 2 and Gear 3 is where Zoro caps out, I disagree with that. I'd say he caps out at Gear 5, but he is relative to Gear 5, as is shown in Egghead Island.
Well, it's just that the manga is just straight up showing us that he's not on that level. Like, there's so many ways to prove what you said wrong. I'll just use this one. So here's something. Like, we see Big Mom. She is, like, dumb as bricks. She's actually, like, the stupidest Yonko by far. And there's lines of dialogue in Wano where it states that if Big Mom goes berserk, she will solo her entire crew. This is showing us that a Yonko is massively stronger than the rest of their crew. Then we see Kaido like clashing with Big Mom while he's not even trying. She's using her devil fruit, he's not even using his. You could make an argument that Kaido would solo his entire crew as well. And then you have Zoro struggling with just one of Kaido's goons. Meanwhile, Luffy knocks Kaido out. Like, the gap is giant. Like, you could honestly make an argument that in Wano, Luffy could beat his whole crew. I'd make that argument, in fact. Like, that...
Sorry.
Like, for example, that flame Bagua that Kaido did at the very end, in terms of, like, attack power, do you really think that the crew would have been able to just counter that?
Okay, so no.
But Luffy does.
Luffy died fighting Kaido, and Kaido took on so many waves.
Hold on.
Until Luffy was able to knock him out.
Wait. Let's stick with that point for a second. We literally see Luffy overpower it. So you're straight up admitting that the crew would die to something weaker than what Luffy can do. So I don't understand how people come to this conclusion where Luffy one arc, like in Wano, a lot of people agree, okay, Luffy would solo the whole crew. But then magically the next arc they think, Zoro's close to that now. He's not.
Okay, alright. So there's a lot of context that you're missing. Luffy didn't just straight 1v1 Kaido for the entire arc.
Wait.
Like
Hold on,
Danzi.
How does that change what I just said?
Because you're using Luffy beating Kaido to scale him above the entire
No. I'm not saying him beating Kaido is what matters. I'm saying Luffy overpowering Flame Bagua. I'll ask you again. that magma dragon Susanoo form Kaido did, if the crew has to fight that, do they have the power to overcome that?
Okay, so which crew?
Luffy's Luffy's crew. Like, is Luffy? I'm asking you in terms of just stats, raw strength. Do they have the strength to overcome that attack? Does the answer is no, man.
The Straw Hats. The Straw Hats.
That's melting them.
But Zoro cut the same a relative. Okay, not relative, but he cut a similar attack when he cut King's attack. That was literally the same thing.
Yes,
Zoro was saying the flames were as hot as lava.
What I'm saying,
acted like lava. That's exactly what Flame Bagua was.
Yes, that's why I said stats. I'm saying yes, Zoro can cut fire. I don't know if he can cut like Flame Bagua. I don't know if he can do that. There might be a limit to that. We don't know. I'm saying in terms of raw stats, are they physically strong enough to overpower that?
We're talking about the Straw Hats.
Yes, can the Straw Hats overpower Flame Bagua without Luffy? Are they strong enough to just overpower that attack? Because Luffy did by himself. Like, what I'm saying is, there's a lot, like, Luffy's a real Yonko, and his crew are just commanders. And we see that with other Yonkos, they have no problem soloing their crew.
Yonko, but in terms of fighting power, he can only use Gear 5 for a certain amount of time. And he died against Kaido. There was a lot of, like...
The whole point of, like, Oda showing Luffy fight him in Gear 2 and Gear 3, and then Kaido straight up say, wow, you're going toe-to-toe with me in this state. Like, that's showing you that Luffy is, like, at least relative to Yonkos, even without Gear 5.
But he killed him after that. He literally killed him. He literally lost that 1v1 after that.
I mean, do you remember how that happened, though? He got distracted. Like, he got held back by CP0 member. But, I mean, it doesn't change what Kaido's saying. Like, it's just these things that here's the thing. There is an abundant amount of evidence proving what I'm saying, and there's really, like, nothing proving what you're saying, man.
I think when it comes to what I'm trying to say, I think it just comes from just, like, looking at the story from a lens that doesn't rigidly put, okay, Luffy is a captain, and then under him are, like, much weaker subordinates. I don't think that's how Luffy's crew is set up. I think when Luffy
it is now.
To Zoro, so I wouldn't say that.
It wasn't before, but...
Well, I think Luffy and Zoro, their dynamic is like Rayleigh and Roger. But anyway, I think I'll just leave it there. I think we've been debating long enough.
It's okay.
I mean, everybody's going to agree to disagree.
This
is a good... I respect you, Lilos. I think this was a good debate, and yeah.
It was a fun debate. And I would just say one last thing. It's like, at the beginning, it was like all of the super... Like, it was Luffy, Zoro, Law, Kid, and Killer all fighting Big Mom and Kaido. And then Luffy was like, okay, accepting all of their help. The moment Luffy awakened Advanced Conquerors, he's like, I got this solo. So, I mean, there's so many things, but yeah, I guess we can agree to disagree. We'll just have one more person go. Laron. And I see a Shuri here too. Maybe we could just do this last part open just because the stream's been going on for a minute. Just give me 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. I gotta let my cat back in here. Hold on.
Wait, nah, Leron, you just want to go before me? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I also have a couple things to say too. Like, the debate lasted like a long time, and also Lilos, you still owe me part of like her scaling and whatnot, like you said you was. But
that's true.
You can do that tomorrow if you want to.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. The debate's just going on pretty long, so I'm thinking maybe
like not tomorrow, but like later on today, because it's 1 a.m. over here.
I'm just thinking, let's wrap this all up in like the next 5 to 10 minutes here. So maybe
real quick, I have a point I want to make too. You can go. You can go, Laron.
All right. It's up to you. Would you want to focus the topic around?
Oh no, it's all good. I mean,
yeah, like bring up a topic and we can like work around that if possible, so we can just like wrap things up. Because I think I have a very valid
that I had in mind in particular, because it's like agenda piece and stuff like that when it comes to One Piece. So it's like me arguing for Luffy being stronger than Zoro would also upskill Luffy to be like considerably above like Yamato and like all of the scabbards and stuff like that. because most people would assume that like Zoro would just like easily one tap Lucci and stuff like that. But the thing with Lucci is like Gear 4 Luffy was still fighting like hard diff against fucking Kuma, Seraphim, and stuff like that. That wasn't even actual Kuma, and we could still make an inference that like it's debatable between actual Kuma and like the Seraphim Kuma on who's stronger. So it's like with their second strongest forms, they were still going hard diff against like a Seraphim Kuma that's debatable against regular Kuma that like could be upscaled higher in the Egghead than like freaking Thriller Bark Kuma and stuff like that. So that's just like a whole different thing entirely. Like I still think that Luffy would be considerably above Zoro in base, because that would basically mean like base Luffy could have fought like awakened Lucci when he was like super strong, and even that's debatable. Like that's super debatable in itself. So it's like everything that I have with the One Piece thing would like upscale Lucci considerably. And then I also wanted to ask you about like the next Hunter x Hunter stream, because I had a specific question about Kite versus I'm trying to think of his name. No, like Kite versus No, because I personally think that Kite would win. But that's like completely different from One Piece. But the One Piece stuff, Lucci would considerably be upscaled. So I wanted to see what you thought about that.
Like, are you asking me like how strong do I think Lucci like actually is compared to Luffy?
Well, because like what I was gonna do was be like, okay, if you had to like fight for Zoro like as hard as you could, like how far do you think that Zoro would do against Luffy in like his gear forms? Like, would he be able to go against a gear 3rd Luffy and like do considerably well? And like, would that be a representation of what Lucci at his max potential would be able to do? Like that would be the question I would ask.
Like the highest I could like with good consciousness, like good conscience scale Zoro is like getting destroyed by Gear 4. Like that's kind of the best I could possibly do. Like because he just really doesn't have the feats to back it up like at all.
It's like have you read the latest chapters of One Piece?
Yes, yeah, I read the latest one, and the latest, like, it's really just like legitimately getting worse for Zoro, because in the latest chapter he said he didn't even know he had Conqueror's Haki. Meanwhile, like Luffy has so much more experience with Conqueror's Haki, it's insane. Like he learned it during the time skip, started 500 chapters ago, knocking out 50,000 fishmen, something like that. It was either 5,000 or 50,000.
Zoro. Wait, hold on, real quick. That just upscales Zoro even more if you were to ask me, right? Like, if you look at it from perspective as in pre-time skip, Luffy, we see him use Conqueror's Haki without even knowing that he has Conqueror's Haki versus Zoro, who's able to take down people with Conqueror's Haki, like high-tier people, right? With Conqueror's Haki without knowing he has it. So, like, imagine how powerful he gets while knowing he has, like, imagine pre-time skip Luffy versus like post-time skip Luffy. Like imagine like the difference between that. So when that Conqueror's Haki is fully realized, can you just say that he's just upscaled from his previous self?
Not really. Not really. No.
We have.
Well, here, let me just answer this real quick. No, because like you can start making the argument now that he might not even have advanced Conqueror's Haki. Like it's not upscaling him at all. Oh wait, hold up. It just what it really.
Loki stated that in order to damage Kaido, you need advanced Conqueror's Haki. So unconsciously, Zoro he's able to do that. But another point I want to address.
That's not stated. But hold on, King Shadow. Let Laurent go, King Shadow.
Oh yeah, okay.
But
I appreciate you guys.
No, you're good.
This is why like Lucci would be considerably upscaled, because if that's the case, then that means that Zoro was passively using advanced Conqueror's Haki against Lucci too. That means the entire time that Lucci was fighting him, which would be the upscale, it would be like Lucci was fighting 2 advanced Conqueror's Haki users and was able to do relatively fine. And then even after Zoro did like a focused advanced Conqueror's Haki attack, he was still standing and was still able to attack against Zoro. And Jinbei basically had to bail Zoro out of the fight. Not entirely, but just like separate them both. That's why he was like, oh, I'm sorry, Lucci, sorry, Zoro, but like I gotta break this fight up because like we gotta get the fuck up out of here. And it's sorry for my language too.
No, you're
so
good.
That would considerably upskill Lucci. And it's like if you want to say that Zoro would like low diff Lucci, then you can't say that Luffy was like fighting against a passive advanced conquerors Haki Zoro. That just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, neither Lucci nor Zoro have feats even like on Luffy's level, man. Like, I'm still kind of just sticking with my original argument. Like, Zoro's a Gear 3 victim, bro. I'm sorry. That's just.
Yeah, first, I want to say this real quick.
Wait,
LeBron, if
wait,
you're
King-
not on Team Zoro's side, right?
Well-
like, we're not going to give you much screen time.
King Shadow,
okay,
no.
buddy,
Wait,
we're Team Zoro. Like, what?
King Shadow, hold up. Let's let Ashura.
Why is he Team Luffy right now? This is a debate, not a...
Hold on.
Narrative implication.
But
If it's the narrative implication, that means that Zoro also had less screen time, and then he also did less than Sanji did against Agorose.
that is true. But dude, I actually muted King Shadow. Ashura, here, you share a few things, bro. I'm gonna end the stream in a few minutes, man. What's some
All
stuff
right.
you wanted to say?
I'm gonna speed run this. All right, there's two different types of Luffy. There is in-character Luffy and debate Luffy. We're not using debate Luffy because debate Luffy solos. We're using in-character Luffy. In-character Luffy does not use observation hockey at all. He is stupid as a. He doesn't use future sight 90% of the time. Remove future sight. Now they're equal in speed. All right. Gear 3 could one-shot him, but 90% of the time it misses. So we don't include that either. We remove Gear 3 most of the time, right? Because it can be countered with some of his higher tier attacks. Like, in-character Luffy can be matched by Zoro because Luffy doesn't go all out 90% of the time. Gear 3 is his maximum, and that can be countered by a lot of Zoro's attacks. And Gear 5 speed amp is a problem, but we see that you can keep up with people faster than you, like how he kept up with King, because a lot of that speed is linear movement. It doesn't translate into like minutia until he reaches that Gear 4, where Gear 4 Snake Man, where he can change the angles. In character Luffy would have a good fight with Zoro. He could hold his own and not get instantly cooked. It's the same way how Zoro can hold his own against Kaido for a second, and the same way all the characters can hold themselves against Big Mom. Stronger characters seem like when they're in One Piece, they low-key see everybody as ants, and they just stop doing what they do. I don't know, bro.
I agree with that.
What you say about that, Lilo?
No, I agree with that. Yeah, like if I mean, Luffy does clown around a lot, so like if Luffy's just going in there clowning around against Zoro, not using future sight, not using like half the tools in his kit, like yeah, Zoro can hold his own there. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Was there anyone else who wanted to share like one last thing? Wait, hold on. I had Lenny muted too because he had like music playing, I think, when he came in. Wait, Lenny, were you saying something?
Yeah, I just came here to say hello. I just came back from the hospital. I haven't been on, so.
Oh dang! Are you
good,
doing good?
Oh damn! What happened then?
I'm doing okay. My knee really got messed up, and like that's why I haven't been on Discord. I've been dealing with a lot of personal stuff, but I'm back now, so I'm just chilling. I just wanted to pop in and say hi, bro.
Oh well, I'm happy you're better. You're doing better now, bro.
Yeah.
But thanks for hopping back in. I'm glad you're back in these.
Lilo, I got one more thing.
Yep. What's up?
Katakuri can box relatively with like all of the other commanders. He hasn't been power crept at all. There hasn't been any speed amps from Wano, from Whole Cake Island to Wano, and even the AP difference isn't that big.
Loki
We can debate.
Queen might be able to take out Katakuri.
Yeah.
No, let me cook. There hasn't been any speed difference because we know all the Scabbards can tag Kaido. All the Scabbards have fought Jack before. Jack is Commander 3. Luffy is having trouble with ulti.
Oh my
A
god.
bunch of characters be relative. We see Perispera come in and box with like all the commanders, literally King and Queen. Marco has boxed with King and Queen. Literally, what's his name? Chopper boxed with Queen. It seems like everybody's relative in speed. Katakuri beats literally everybody I just mentioned in speed casually in base. No future side at all because we see no future side Katakuri when he's calmed down can box with like Gear 4 So speed, he's way faster than anyone in the arc still because everyone is simply relative. And
Do
in
you think that
AP,
Gear
OT,
4
and
Luffy is like slower than a base Luffy that was in Wano? Like, do you think that Gear 4 Luffy and Whole Cake was like
no, he's
way
not slow. No, you're mistaken. Kaido's speed is not linear, right? Kaido's speed in base is relative to base Luffy, but when he uses oh shit, what you saying?
I said, don't drag out your argument too much. Lilos needs to end the stream soon.
Oh yeah. When Kaido uses attacks, specifically named attacks, he gets massively faster and blitzes people who are using Future Sight. So yeah, that's it.
No, those are good points. That's like a whole other debate on its own. But all right, guys, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. King Shadow, I'm gonna do another Hunter x Hunter live stream tomorrow, so just tune in for that one, and we can debate Hunter x Hunter there. But
Okay, yeah, appreciate it.
What was the debate about? Because I had a specific thing about Kite and Nove, and I didn't want to like intrude the whole stream about like Kite and Nove, Jabble.
oh no, you're good. At the stream I'm doing tomorrow, I'm gonna talk about if Gon lost his Nen or not. I'll go in depth about that.
Okay.
But then at the end, I'll just have like an open debate portion for other stuff if you guys want. So, but yeah, guys, I'm gonna close out the stream.
We all appreciate that.
All right, see you, Luz.
No worries, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Lenny, I'm happy you're feeling better. I'm just gonna close out the Discord, but thank you for tuning in, guys. All right, chat. I'm very tired now. That was a fun debate. A lot of fun debates there, but yeah, that was a good time. I'm gonna close out the stream now. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the comments. Snellium, thank you for the membership. And yeah, you guys, I will see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your night.